Okay, I'll go ahead and call the meeting of the Downtown Business Improvement District to order. It is Wednesday, July 31st. It is 5:36 p.m. and we're here at City Hall in conference room number 1, the first floor. First of all, could we have someone do the roll call?
I'll do it. Lawrence Friedman.
Here.
Jasvier Malik. Not present. Tomas Isaguirre.
Present.
Julian Ratnowski. I'm present. Hilda Torres. She is not here. Justin Heather.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next up is citizen comments. We don't have any citizen comments currently. We'll hold those up until 5:45. If any citizen wants to make comments, more than welcome to do so as we discuss items. Next up on the agenda is the approval of our minutes for the meeting held on May 29th, 2024. They should be in your packet. Once you've had a chance to review, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
The one amendment I'd like to make is on the minutes. Mr. Rene Gonzalez resigned, I want to say 2 meetings ago, so him not being present really shouldn't be in there.
Makes sense.
We will make the necessary adjustments and
So
revisions.
that is the motion that I put. And then with that, to approve the rest of the minutes.
Great. I have a motion to approve the minutes as amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved as amended. Next up, we have discussion items, no action to be taken. The first item is discussion regarding the survey issued with respect to the Business Improvement District. Julian, could you give us some updates?
Yes, right now we have 3 categories of individuals that have responded to our survey. We have 100, and I'll just read out the categories. We have citizens of Laredo that do not own property or business downtown, but care about downtown Laredo. And this is that category that we're kind of looking at as kind of our customers and getting some feedback from them. We've had 176 of those individuals respond. We got a huge uptick on a lot of our responses when KGNS actually gave me a call and I kind of updated them and they posted about it. They're actually asking for a follow-up interview, which may help push this up further if we'd like to do that. So we've had 176 citizens respond thus far. On downtown property owners or property owners that operate a downtown business. So this is a property owner or a property owner that is in their properties running their own business. We've had 25 people respond. When it comes to downtown business owners, so these are people that don't own the property but lease in the downtown business improvement district boundary. We've had 12 people respond. I've already spoken to a couple of people, sadly including myself. I've started it and I forgot to finish providing my response. So we should actually see more of a uptick once I talk to some other individuals that I do know own property and they finish filling it out. So
What businesses?
I don't have that broken out right now. But the idea is once we kind of hit our deadline, I'm going to break it all out and present the findings. So we'll list the businesses. I do need to find out if we can list the property owners' names publicly. Once I figure that out, we can move forward with that. But either way,
the board.
So the idea right now, the way the survey is set up is if you're saying you are a business owner within the business improvement district or a property owner within the business improvement district, it actually requires you to submit your information. And what I'm going to be doing is going through each one of those and confirming, that they match up by using Laredo CAD to see property owner and seeing if that's matching up. So just to confirm, if we are showing results of downtown property owners, that they are true property owners within the bid boundary. So those are the results I have now. I really don't want to go into the individual results because I'd like to just collect it all. Once we're done, present it all together as one big
Makes
one.
sense. Yeah. And when are we going to close that?
My recommendation is we leave it open till our next business improvement district meeting. So I would say another 30 days.
Okay. Do you want, okay, yeah. So we'll make sure we close it like the Friday before so that you can then present.
Yes.
That Mexican-
Okay. So
okay.
I would request that we keep it open. So we'll keep it open till, let me see, that would be the 23rd of next month. So that would be August 23rd.
Okay, sounds good. And I'll make a commitment to push it out not only within my organization, but to others that I know that, you know, friends and all that, that whether they be citizens or property owners, so we can get as much feedback as we can. I know, hopefully social media and KGNS push can help us, and we can get as many sort of feedback as we can, because that sort of leads into our next point, which is, you know, discussion of the project plan. There's sort of two pieces of that. One is what services are we going to offer, which is, you know, we all know what services we can offer based on what other organizations have done, but gathering from the survey what the property owners and the citizens want. But then secondly, the other piece would be the financing side. I did receive this week, maybe 2 days ago, from Bobby over at Webb County, the chief appraiser, Bobby Paraguay, the last 3 years running taxable values of properties downtown for this district. They manage, even though no assessment's ever been imposed on the district, they do keep track of it. And so I've got the last 3 years running totals of what the total appraised value, total taxable value is, and then also broken down by category. So there's a category for single family. Well, that number doesn't factor into our ultimate assessment. But so I've received those numbers and have not yet done any sort of analysis with it. Saw the numbers, kind of pegged it, and you know what it might look like, you know, based on 15 or 20 cents. But you know, I'm going to have one of our financial analysts sort of take the 3 year running totals, kind of project out what that taxable value might look like over the next, say, 10 years as we formulate this plan, and give me some numbers that are going to be based on 15 or 20 cent assessments on the property. And that way we have some numbers that will hopefully inform what is the ultimate plan. That, you know, I mean, yes, I'd love to have 57 street cleaners and, you know,
Sure.
thousands of lights, but we can only afford X or Y, you know, to get an idea of what we're looking at in terms of the sustained income that could be produced through an assessment. Obviously, there may be other contracts with the city or Webb County or Laredo College that would, or private businesses even, that could help facilitate additional services. But looking at the core sort of statutory income that can be created for that plan to match the services that people want.
I think we mentioned lighting before. It's something, just keeping it very simple, something that we could do, you know, as far as we have to have a start, you know, as far as the trees are concerned, there's still a lot of time. But something that can happen immediately, if not sooner, would be the lighting for the streets, which I think would be very, very helpful for us.
Well, one thing, speaking of sort of immediacy, and you may have seen it come up today, was that they announced, I'm also vice chair of the TERS board, and we had a pre-con meeting on Monday, and they started construction today on the Zaragoza blocks. And ultimately, that there's about 120 days on that contract to build that out. So we could see as early as Thanksgiving time those improvements installed, which is going to be, you know, two of the pieces that came up in the pre-con, and everybody looked at me because of the bid, was, all right, well, we're going to connect the power for lighting and the trees that are going to be installed, and we're going to connect water for the irrigation for the trees that are going to be installed. Who's paying for it? Then everybody looked at me, and I'm like, you know, but that is, you know, as we've discussed, sort of the bid function would be to take over the maintenance, because the TERS can put in the capital improvements. But someone to back it up, you know, it may be the city in the short term until we get some money into the bid, but ultimately that should be that would be a bid category of items of sort of maintenance so that we don't end up with what we have now, a lot of trees that are dead or, sprinkler system breaks, you're not going to go back to the TERS to fix it. We as the bid would hopefully be able to sort of address that sort of upkeep and maintenance for those trees heck, I can't remember how big the place is for Central San Antonio, but they put in different colored flowers for different times of the year. And
Right.
hopefully we get to that point that we can, make those improvements as well.
Agreed.
So project plan, as we get the monies sort of mapped out and we get the responses, hopefully by September, we're looking at a draft where we can say, all right, we like this, we like that. And we can start doing Tourette's and getting with businesses and saying, all right, what do you think? And start getting signatures on petitions. And that way for 25, there'll be an assessment in place. Hopefully, that would be the plan.
Okay.
Next up, any further discussion on those before I move on? Don't want to push anybody.
No.
All right. Action item was be 6A, discussion with possible action to appoint Jack Crothers to board to fill a vacant position expiring in June 2025 and any other matters incident thereto. This position is filling the position vacated by Rene Gonzalez, I believe in April or May. And so this would be an appointment that the city council does not have to approve. This would just be a board approval, but it would be for the balance of the remaining term, which would go through June of next year.
Motion to approve.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Excellent, because it'll be easier to reach quorum. We won't have to worry so much.
I'll read action item 6B.
God bless you.
I was the one that put that in there. Discussion with possible action to approve joining the Rio Grande International Study Center as a collaborating entity in a grant application to the Environmental Protection Agency, Environmental Climate and Climate Justice Community Change Grant for acquiring and installing additional trees in the downtown area and to assist with the maintenance of these trees for a 3-year period. So from what was described to me by the Rio Grande International Study Center is what they would need from us, because what they'd like to do is, if they get these funds, to install some of these trees in especially the bid boundaries, which would be in our area, is they actually, when they apply for that grant, they need a collaborating entity that is also involved in that area. That doesn't mean that we, in those 3-year periods, are going to need to fund those things. From my understanding and explanation from Trish Cortez, which works with them, those funds for those maintenance are included in that grant. So we would be in charge of then basically assisting and collaborating in the maintenance of those things, but
In
it
the
shouldn't
maintenance of the
require
trees.
funds directly from us.
We all spoke to her before.
So this is very, very similar to we as a board approved something similar to this through another governmental body where it was a lot larger than this.
A lot larger.
And we did not get approved for that. But that being said, this is a smaller version of it that we believe, especially if we can get this one right, this will build much more of a case to reapply for that next one, because apparently it opens up every year. So they would need a document from us essentially saying that we are partnering them with this. So that's why this needs to be approved by the board, is stating that we are in support. So the motion would be, or at least the motion that I would have, sorry, where was it? To become a collaborating entity. So the motion is to become a collaborating entity with the Rio Grande International Study Center in order to apply for the Environmental Protection Agency Environmental Climate and Climate Justice Community Change Grant. That is my motion for this item.
Okay, I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Your turn.
I have a motion and a second. Just in terms of discussion, I believe this is where they already have sort of a template letter that they can have us sign. 'Cause
Yes.
we as the TERS board approved that to do so recently as well. And I believe that Jose Ceballos, the chair, has done that. But if you need anything for me to sign something, obviously you can sign. But if I need to sign anything, just let me know. I think this works well in conjunction. One of the things we've talked about on the TERS board was that as we're doing these wells and we've already done, as we've done the walkabouts for improvements, we know where trees should be, or that are dead. So hopefully we as a bid can also help, direct, some of the, if someone sees a place where that's where a tree should go or something like that, that we not be involved. And then after 3 years, hopefully we'll be in a position where we can maintain it.
Justin, I really feel, Julian, it's so important. And just baby steps, just to do it. Be like Nike and get it done. I mean, if we're going to be waiting for a grant to get trees, okay? Ooh. Hello. I mean, if this is going to happen like overnight, what time period are we looking at?
I don't know the details of that, but I do know the TERS is actually already installing trees. So we are actually doing something.
Yeah,
Or at
so
least-
the TERS trees will be this fall. If I remember
Yeah.
correctly from the TERS board meeting, they would know beginning of 2025 and possibly begin installation as early as March or April of 25.
Of
So,
next year. So what we could work on possibly, and just switching, it's almost like trees because you mentioned the lights on the trees. If we can work on the lights, just the lights for this year, that would be great.
Is the TERS putting any lighting up?
for the trees along Zaragoza will be lit.
So
and
that's something
so-
to consider with the service plan. Then.
Yes, for part of the service plan, and then on the additional the phase 2 and 3, which we had originally bid out these 11 blocks. We couldn't get anybody for all 11, so we broke it down, and so we're doing piece 1.
Yeah.
That should be done by November. We talked about putting it out to bid sort of at the end of that November time frame, so that if we only got one bidder this time, and they only have a certain amount of bonding capacity, that we want them to be able to bid, but they have to be done with the construction and have the bonding capacity to take on the next stage. So, we could, in theory, have this next stage going, in early spring for the next step. But that idea is to have trees and irrigation, or lighting and irrigation for the trees in each one of those phases as we sort of build up these tree wells.
I'll wait for discussions and I won't interrupt. We'll go ahead.
We can keep discussing this if we have any other items on this. Otherwise, we'll vote on this and then we can discuss.
Yeah.
Okay. The only other thing I just wanted to mention is that yesterday I was with the McDonald's people trying to move them into our downtown area, and going down Zaragoza Street. And this is with all your cousins with AEP. We've had our problems with these people. They screwed up my street, Zaragoza, where I wanted to go ahead and. That's one thing that we have to work on is our streets, but that should have been a two-way street, especially when we developed the outlet mall and AEP with an Aggie, Carlos Villarreal, which they all agreed to move transformers into the street instead of keeping them on the roof. So messed up the street, but right now, going from, let's say, even Santa Maria onward, talking to AEP at one time, we wanted to go ahead and put lights. The mall, would pay for the lights to go across. And AEP said, no. And when we were with McDonald's yesterday, they said, oh my God, you guys are the #1 inland port. Look at these wires. It seems like we're in a third world country. Zaragoza and Convent, which is true. The TERS is starting right across the street, and it was like, oh my God. I know that's not going to happen, at least in my lifetime, but we can do the lighting on these buildings, and we get the funding from the mall to do this. If we can go across. You know, I'm just saying, just to lighten up that street side, it wasn't, bring it up a bit. Just
Yeah.
my 2 cents.
Little things change a lot.
So let me,
Yeah.
I've got a motion and a second. Let me vote on that, and then I want to follow up on what you just said. So I've got a motion and a second. All those in favor, please say aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. So to that point, we'll move on to sort of announcements, and I'll feed back into what you were saying is with the TERS as part of that Zaragoza Street, we've asked AEP for a quote. We had a rough quote from the fall.
Why should we pay it? Why should we
Right?
pay it?
I understand. But the notion being of having steel poles basically from the outlets all across Zaragoza, we don't have any additional quotes with. Apparently, our engineers have not heard back from AEP, but they are pushing on that to try to clean up that bird's nest and get some of those crisscrosses sort of lined up
Right.
better. So hopefully that will happen as part of this. We just don't have, we haven't received those numbers yet. But I think the TERS is going to be at least paying for part of that. I don't know exactly how that's going to work, but it will be getting rid of the old wood poles, replace it with steel poles, and looking a little bit more like the outlet malls poles there. I believe essentially all the way to the hotel. So
It's I mean, I think it's it's chutzpah. Okay, it's chutzpah that nerve. Okay, it's nerve. AEP. And here, I mean, we're the ultimate consumers of electricity, and it's their wires, it's their poles, and they want us to do all this, right? They want us to foot the bill.
yes, that was it wasn't awful, but we haven't got the updated quote.
Well,
So, and it all depends, I mean, because
Yeah.
that was one of our pushes. And in fact, Carol had brought it up when she was on the TERS board that like, this isn't my bird's nest.
yeah.
This is your bird's nest, and you've got, Spectrum and whoever else, AT&T and probably companies that no longer exist
Right.
that have wires still spooled up there because that's what they do is they kind of just cut it off and tie it up. But, we'll have to see when when we actually get a quote, what it's going to look like.
I think that I don't know, maybe it's taking it to another level, but if a building, one of our buildings downtown, we purchase a building and they haven't done anything to the building for 30 years, and my tenant moves out, and I want to bring in a new tenant. Whoa. We have to bring this building up to code. You know what? You're no longer ADA compliant. Toilet. Hey, we need at least 8 feet over here. Where's your 8 feet? This is 3 feet. This is what we used, 40 years ago. It doesn't happen. I think that this could be true with AEP as far as their wires and their poles and what have you. Something to look at.
And one good thing that's been discussed recently, I don't know exactly which meetings, but I've heard it floated a couple more times, is going back. We have the vacant building ordinance on the books, but it hasn't been activated, but activating that to help spur some of this downtown and, whether, monies can be, dedicated to the bid for services for those vacant buildings or whether the city's going to use those monies to do services downtown. I have no idea, but there's at least an interest in, hey, we've got these vacant buildings. They need to be, but to your point, yes, that's a challenge for all developers is, once you change the use, it really gets to,
some of our clientele, some of my clients that I have that have invested literally millions and millions of dollars in our downtown area said, you know what, Larry? I'll put in whatever you want me to put into my building. There's no market. If there's no market, why am I going to put in? Well, they're putting in $800,000 into one of the bars downtown right now. But if there is no market as far as retail and wholesale on Convent, You're not gonna do anything to the building. Bring me a tenant. I'll put up any, it has to justify. I mean, if we're making rent 50, 75 cents, what's that? $6 a year? Come on. Compared to the past, but we're not living in the past. We're moving forward. And that's what this whole little board is about here. Okay, I won't talk anymore.
No, I mean, those are very valid
Oh,
points. And I
absolutely.
think, there's a lot of power in the collaboration between private sector, AEP, the city, the tenants, how can we make this, work to where we all put some skin in the game? Because we all benefit, right? And those are very valid points. What comes first, the chicken or the egg, as to vacant buildings and attracting tenants and creating the market. But I think what the church is doing, if there's synergy on what every single group is doing for downtown, I think that we can see a small win that's gonna create. I think.
And they just did the utility improvements along It Street, so there's, I feel like, I received a call recently where someone was concerned about taxes increasing, personal property taxes. So I have nothing to do with your house, but he was like, "Well, I don't see anything," and my comment was, "Well, on It Street it's happening, on Zaragoza it's happening, and we're doing, there's several of us, a lot of us. We just had the big bid summit, or the downtown summit." Where there's bid, there was TERS, there was elected officials, both state and county, or city and county, and a lot of people are working on that. And it's like, I understand, and it's been a long time, and I empathize with what you're saying, but we're working, and you're going to see improvements soon. And I'm still positive that these things are starting to snowball a little bit. That I feel positive.
I'm going to say one thing, Julian and Justin, not Justin Heather or anything like Justin Beaver. Okay. So I think the more input, you can't just try to do it all. It's not going to work. It won't work. You have different sectors of downtown that basically this guy over here doesn't like me because I part my hair in the middle. Okay? I mean, we have different Indian groups, Korean, Filipinos on one side. You have different groups out here, and meshing them all together, that you can bring them all together. You can do that. You can definitely do that. And I'm thinking like, having our little meetings here with all these people and bringing them in. I'm just saying an international summit, that's what has to be done here with all these people. But I think that if the word gets out and you not talk to someone on Facebook, I don't even look at Facebook. And I say that there's a lot of, I'm a super senior citizen, so there's a lot of people there. You're one of them. Look at me. Okay? So I just feel that one-on-one is great, but getting out, like, people want to get involved. They're saying enough is enough, just like our taxes. Just saying enough is enough. And the elections are right around the corner. Who knows what's going to happen here? I can tell you the way we're playing it. If this happens or if it doesn't happen, my Chinese guys are out. Okay. But I feel it's going to be a different new year. And I think as far as business is concerned, I'm seeing people coming into town that we've made a statement for our downtown. We're making a statement. I mean, we wouldn't have McDonald's here. They wouldn't have come in. They hadn't been here in how long? Since we threw them out of the Riverbrook Mall when we started construction. We threw McDonald's out. They were here for the longest time. Even though they had one of their number one McDonald's in Laredo is right at the street. Yeah. And Laredo's a market. This is our market. And I think if you look at the numbers of Burger King is doing unbelievable numbers, just incredible numbers. So it's just the fast food franchises that are looking, and I think that we need more intervention.
So on Monday, the TERS board will be presenting to city council to discuss a budget request from the city for bond funds to expedite our sort of build out.
Good.
In early July, we presented to the Webb County Commissioners Court on Webb County participating in TERS number 1 for downtown. It was well received by the commissioners and the judge, and I think I don't know what that's going to look like participation wise, whether it be 100% like the city
Right.
or 40% like they do in TERS number 2.
Right.
But it sounds like they seemed very interested in participating. I think that will, their participation, obviously it's an increment. So next year it's $35,000 is all it adds to the TERS, but it shows commitment for Webb County. And to your point on the food, there aren't food options. And when that new, the old HEB becomes now the sheriff's office,
Right.
that's, I can't remember how many they said, 350, 500 people.
It's going to open up
Where are you going to eat?
that whole area.
You
Where
know,
are you going to eat?
yeah.
Where are you going to eat breakfast and lunch? No
So
dinner.
we need restaurants, and then the bid can work with them because I've seen them out there street cleaning, and we talked to them about it. And I
Right.
said the bid can do that for you,
Right.
not right now, but if we can all come together, we'll do a contract and we can do the power washing for you, and you sort of offload those services on the bid. So it's one of those that I think some of these things, I'm announcing things that hopefully will happen, but it's starting to sort of gel and.
And I take that in consideration what I've learned from the Franks or Rofnoskis, which I don't know which one we're going to use today, but depending. But the services that they have all throughout San Antonio, like when we're involved with our development that we did there, now you have the municipal management district out there that basically they're cleaning up everything out there.
Mhm.
And that's what I'm saying. It all started off baby steps. I think we need to at least start something to show Jaime Uncle, to show the Phallics, or to show Gary Scowen or Lidsky or Goldbergs or Garcias or Roberto Gonzalez that I talked to today that has properties on Convent. Look, this is what we're doing. And after talking to him, he says, I'm in. Let me know what I need to do, what our family needs to do.
And I think one of the things I've envisioned, I know we've kind of talked about it, is right before I joined the TERS, so I want to say maybe it was January of 22-ish, the TERS did a presentation over at House of Whiskey and sort of laid out their plans. And they had, Able City was there, Rick was there, KCI was there, Edward. And they presented to a group of citizens, probably 25, 30, some people upset. A lot of people just wanted to know. And I would love to do, once we kind of come up with what our plan looks like and and business owners are interested and supportive, doing the same thing at House of Whiskey, presenting over at the outlet.
Right.
And just saying, all right, here, we've got 3 or 4 boards. We'll talk for 15, 20 minutes, come ask us questions so that we get that knowledge out there. And then sort of the educational process of, again, hammering home, this isn't residential. You're not paying more for your home. This is for commercial developments in the business district.
But
That's going to benefit everyone.
better. But it's correct, right?
Yeah.
It's like a home.
Why does he look at me?
It's like Mexicanos al grito de guerra. If you want to sell a house, I think I've sold 2 houses in my life. If you want to sell a house, you stage it. You paint it. You paint it, put furniture in it. I'm not here because I have no reason to believe that you might be in the market to buy a house today. If you give me 2 to 3 minutes of your time, I'd like to go show you this beautiful house on 2201 Farragut. I think it's the same thing what we have to do with downtown. This organization, if we can just show the people, we can show them how to put lipstick on it, okay? And I think that they'll put their money. I know Simon, I talked to Simon right now. Simon is putting a lot of money into our downtown. And he's still buying up buildings because he believes in downtown. There's a lot of us that still believe. The only thing is that, like I said, I'm a super senior citizen, so I'll be here for a couple more years and then it happens in life. But anyway, I really do believe that that little bit of lipstick will go such a long way.
And I think part of the bid, I guess goals as well. As part of the lipstick, and I think
Sure.
it's very important. And I know this eventually will get there. The branding for downtown, and giving downtown its own image and its own entity and its own slogan, and create some pride as part of the staging.
Right, sure.
The
No two ways
residential
about it.
area.
That's a question in our surveys. Would you want marketing as part of a service from the bid?
Okay, so when I took it, I guess I got the questions from a citizen. Yes.
The questions
should
for
be.
citizens are completely different
I know.
compared to business and property owners.
And the good news is the TERS has a facade program. I think we've got 5 that have been approved, 4 or 5. I can't remember. I think it's 5. Murals that are being approved
Oh, the
or
murals.
that have been approved. So there's a little bit more lipstick going up. I've had a few other conversations with some folks in the private sector. Hopefully a lot of lipstick is coming soon. It's sort of still percolating, but we could see a lot of improvement in the next 5 to 6 months that really will, I think, in my humble opinion, is going to move the needle enough that people are like, okay, now I get it. It's not just talk. People are actually putting,
Exactly.
paint to the brick and moving forward.
Right.
Community wise, that's the funniest feedback that I kind of get is that the perspective is there's a lot of talk, but nothing's really happening. And if you're not in this room, that's what it seems like. But I think
Julie,
this next year is.
But there needs to be more outreach as well. A lot of downtown business owners don't even know that there's a TERS, a downtown TERS and all the plans with the TERS.
They're oblivious to a lot of this, Julie.
And it's not on their,
And you want to know something? They're all like Nikes. They just do.
and I know we're talking about many different things that are not on the agenda, but
They're announcements. We're announcing in the future.
Yeah. Any other announcements?
Nothing on my end. Anyone?
One last thing I wanted to say. So, how do you get something on this agenda? Like, if, as an example, Alan Weinstein, if he wants to bring something up for the bid to put on the agenda, how can he come forth and bring something up? And
So, 2 ways. One, he can tell you and say, I want X on the agenda, and you tell me or Julian, and we'll make sure it's on the agenda.
okay,
Other way is show up. It doesn't have to be on the agenda, and it can be public comment.
public comment. Okay, okay.
Or he doesn't even have to show up and he can submit a public comment. And-
Yeah, he can
Yeah.
write it out, and we'll read it.
Okay.
Very similar to how city council functions.
Anything else for the good of the order? All right, motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Second.
All right, we are adjourned.